Hello everyone and welcome to EduTap guys. So guys, we are back with another session for your SEBI Gr A Phase 2 Descriptive English exam. And guys, in this session, we will be discussing your strategy and your very important tips and tricks for your Pressy writing as well as reading comprehension passage that is given to you in the exam. So guys, if I'm audible and if I'm visible, if everything is fine, just give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Yes guys, are we live? So guys, I hope your preparations are going well, and I know that you have been preparing for this exam for quite some time now. See, you should balance both the exams, paper 1 and paper 2, because both the exams are very important. Obviously, the weightage of this exam is only 1/3, but every year this exam plays a very crucial role in in scoring a very good, scoring beyond the cutoff marks. So this is a very crucial paper in itself, and for this you need to be working really hard, right? And guys, if you like our initiatives, if you like what we do for you, right, so you can you can like the session and you can share it with someone out there who actually needs it, right? He may get benefited from it, right? So I think, yes, we are live. Hello Anupama. Yes guys, the 20 no Jeremy, we have provided a lot more tentative topics than that, and in the previous session I gave you your 15 topics, and in this session as well I will give you 15 more topics at the end of the session, Jeremy. So if you want the tentative topics, go watch the previous session. In that session I gave you 15 topics that were based on your current affairs, or that were basically based on your topics that are very relevant considering the current scenario. Your union budget, your these topics, for example, privatization of banks, and all these topics which are very important, and facts and data based topics. I gave you 15 topics in the last session, and in this session as well I will give you 15 more topics, a mix of abstract topics and topics that are based on management. So don't go anywhere, Jeremy, especially you, so that you can wait for these topics, right? All right guys, so let's begin. So guys, we will be discussing in this session your important strategy, your keys and tips and tricks to decode Pressy and reading comprehension. So guys, don't forget to like the hit button, and let's begin. All right guys, so first of all, let's start with your strategy for Pressy writing. So guys, you must understand first of all what Pressy entails, what Pressy writing is all about, right? See, many students have this confusion that Pressy is a summary, but guys, Pressy and a summary are two very different things altogether. And what you have, or what we all have been taught since we were kids, since we were in our school, we have been taught to write a summary but never a Pressy, right? So what happens is, basically Pressy is the abstract of the passage, whereas summary is the highlights of the whole passage. So what students I've seen doing is, they read one paragraph, they take out one sentence from it, then they read the next paragraph, they take out one important sentence from that, or couple of sentences from that, then they keep on doing that till the end of the passage, and they put all the sentences together and they feel that this is the Pressy. That is not a Pressy guys, that is a summary. And guys, it will fetch you marks, but not excellent marks. And guys, to understand what Pressy writing is all about, you need to understand the difference between a Pressy and a summary. So we will also discuss that in this session, and we will also be looking at many other important points that you should and you must take care of when you start practicing your Pressy writing. And guys, there are n number of platforms which may be telling you different things, that follow the format of the passage, follow the sequence of the passage, use facts and data in a Pressy. There are many out there who are telling you the same, but what we are telling you here, this is the definition of a Pressy that has been told by Cambridge University, right? So we are basically preparing you for something that is proven and that is followed everywhere, to understand the real meaning of Pressy. So we'll be discussing that, right? So guys, let's begin and let's jump into the session. So first of all, let's discuss what Pressy writing is all about. Now guys, you need to understand what Pressy is first of all. So people believe that Pressy is only about shortening the passage into 1/3 of the passage or in the given word limit. It is not. Pressy is much more than that. So first of all, let's begin with the definition of a Pressy. So guys, as told by Cambridge University, this is the definition of a Pressy. A Pressy is a clear, now please focus on these three words, clear, compact and condensed brief. So please understand this, guys. A Pressy is a clear, compact, condensed brief of a passage by exclusion of unimportant text, that means superfluous information that is given, or anything that has been used to elaborate on some point. So we have to eliminate that, you have to exclude that, and filtration of key points in the writer's own words, that means your own words. So Pressy is not copying and pasting important points from the passage. It is more about your understanding of the passage. So if I want to put it to you this way, Pressy writing is a very crucial type of articulation or very important skill for your life. Reason being, when you are working in an organization, you will be dealing with such type of articulation. You will get 20-30 pages long report, and your superiors will ask you to summarize it for them. So you only keep the highlights, or you present it in your own way. That is what you need to understand. So they basically will evaluate how well you can distinguish between the important and the unimportant, and how well you present it in your own words. So it is a very special type of articulation. So guys, please remember this. Pressy is a clear, compact, condensed brief of a passage by exclusion of unimportant text and filtration of key points in writer's own words. That means it should be written in your own words. So basically, copying and pasting is a strict no-no in Pressy writing, right? And there are many other points that we will be discussing, but you have to understand Pressy is basically the crux of the passage, the central theme of the passage. So basically, what author has tried to convey through that passage, when you present that in your own words, what we call reading between the lines, right? So when you present that in your own words, that is what we call a good Pressy out there. So guys, please read it further. Pressy writing is regarded as a very important kind of composition. Absolutely true, because it develops one's capacity to discriminate between the essential and the non-essential. That is what they want to see. If you can understand which points and which key points are are to be highlighted in a Pressy, and which points or which sentences are to be omitted. And there is a very simple strategy to start learning how to draft a Pressy if you haven't done so yet. So we can and we will start understanding the real requirement of a Pressy in this session. So let's start with that, guys. First of all, you need to understand the key points of a Pressy. First of all, plan or outline the original passage. Now, what do you mean by plan or outline? Now, guys, if it were a paper-based exam, you could have underlined the key points. But the point is, this paper is going to be on a computer. So, right, you cannot mark anything there. But what you can do there is, you will have a rough piece of paper, rough sheet of paper with you. If you do not get one, please ask for one. So what you do is the best strategy, right, without wasting time, because guys, in the interface, if you do not do this, you will have to scroll up and down countless times, and that will waste a lot of time. And in this exam, you do not have the luxury of time, guys. Please remember that. So what you do is, while you are reading the passage, keep your rough paper with you, and while going through the passage, after every paragraph, mark down the key points on the rough piece of paper for each paragraph. So for example, the first paragraph was about introduction of terrorism, and how terrorism, how deleterious it is, or how bad it is for the world and the environment altogether and for humanity, right? So you mark down in your rough paper highlights of, or let's say criticality of terrorism. Then in second paragraph, let's say if they have discussed 9/11, right, for example, right? So if they're discussing the event of 9/11 and what happened beyond that, so consequences of 9/11 on America and on the world itself. So second paragraph, you mark down in your rough paper highlights about 9/11. Third paragraph, they're discussing, let's say they discuss about the difference between bioterrorism and chemical terrorism. So you mark down the key points as you go along, and what will happen in the end, you will not have to re-refer to the passage again. You will have that short note with you. So it won't take very long to write down those points, but it will save a lot of time for you. So plan and outline your passage. What do I mean by outline is, keep marking down the key points as you go along. And once you have done that, so when you're sitting and starting to write your Pressy, You can only refer to those key points that you have written on a paper, and you will be able to execute a very good Pressy. So that is the first strategy. If you start doing that, this will definitely help you in the long run, right? So this is the first point. Plan an outline of the original passage. So you must mark down key points or highlights of every paragraph on that rough piece of paper. Second, only keep the abstract of the passage. So I hope you know what abstract means, right? What has been tried to convey through this passage. So if you were listening carefully, so what is the highlight of this passage? Terrorism and the consequences of terrorism, right? So basically, if you understand that inherently, now you will be able to draft a very good title, and you will be able to discuss the Pressy organically. Otherwise, it will become very difficult for you to distinguish between important and unimportant, because when you go with that strategy, you read one paragraph, you take one sentence, so you will always waste time thinking which sentence is important and which is not. And that is the most important part of this articulation, that is Pressy writing, right guys? So I'll take all your doubts at the end of the session, whichever doubt you have, but let me just explain everything to you guys first, and then we will see what better we can do. So second is, only keep the abstract of the passage. What is the meaning of abstract? The core of the passage, the crux of the passage. So if I would be writing a Pressy on this particular passage, I would be discussing terrorism has wreaked havoc on the moral fiber of the world, and it is still going on, and the humanity or people, or let's say the world, needs to understand the importance of this. So this is what is called abstract, right? What has the author tried to convey through this passage? That is called a Pressy, guys. It is not the words of the passage that you have to take out. It is the underlying meaning of the passage that you have to take, and then you have to frame or rephrase it in your own way, in your own presentation. So many students ask me, sir, should we not copy anything from the passage? Now guys, certain keywords like terrorism and or let's say for this particular passage, terrorism and criticality and such, keywords are important to keep. You cannot use any other word for terrorism, right? That has to be kept. But the rest of the sentence has to be rephrased, reframed in your own language, in your own words. So if you ask me, sir, what is the best way to practice for a Pressy? So guys, you have your editorials, you have your newspapers with you. So what you do is, every day, take up one editorial or two editorials, that's your call. Take up an editorial, read it carefully, right? Mark down the important points of every paragraph, as I told you, and then keep it aside, right? Leave it for 15, 20, 30 minutes, or if you are busy, then what you can do is read the passage in the morning, and you can draft your Pressy in the evening. So how it is going to help you? When you do not have the article in front of you, what you will do is, you will only ask your memory, you will ask your brain, what did I read in that particular passage? What was of importance in that passage? And then when you write down 10-12 sentences, that is 150 words, right? So 10-12 sentences on that, whatever you remember, that would be called a Pressy. Getting my point? So if you have the passage in front of you, you tend to copy something from it, you tend to take help from it. Don't do that. If you really want to prepare, if you really want to understand what Pressy writing is all about, this is the best way to do it. Read an editorial, keep it aside for some time, then sit down without editorial in front of you, and then whatever you remember, you put it down in an organic paragraph, right? What has been conveyed. So Pressy has to have an opening, introduction statement. It also has the body statement with it, and it also has to have a conclusion for it. So that is what I was telling you. You need to understand that Pressy writing is a very important type of composition, guys. So two things we have learned. First, as you go along, you need to underline or highlight the key points of every paragraph. Second, keep the abstract of the passage. Do not try to copy any factual information or any data or any specific references from the passage. That would be wrong, right? Next, selection of the most prominent phrases and sentences. That is very, very important, because they will tell you what to write in the Pressy itself, and form a chain of facts and connect to make an organic whole, right? So form the chain of facts. Whatever has been told to you, you have to present it in an organic way. That means in a natural way. You should not, the evaluator, whosoever is evaluating your Pressy, should not feel a jerk while reading the passage or reading the Pressy, right? If one sentence is talking about terrorism, so next sentence should be coherently connected with the previous sentence. It should be in a continuation. Getting my point, guys? So this is the basic of a Pressy. You should know the definition, you should know what Pressy writing entails and what it is all about, right? Next, guys, now let's move further. Now, what are the key points that you need to remember while you are drafting your Pressy? Number one, how do you choose the title of a Pressy? Now, guys, whatever is the core of that, whatever is the crux, whatever is the central theme of that passage should be the title. And title should not be a sentence long, or it should not, it should not be anything, it should be relevant. Basically, it should be on point. Right, for example, the passage, the scenario I just gave you, if you're thinking of a title, obviously it should include terrorism, because that is the central theme of the whole passage. So title should highlight the central theme of the passage. That is very, very important, guys. Got it? So first point is crux or gist of the passage is going to be the title, and try to make the title, interesting, like terrorism, for example, terrorism, what do you want to write? You can think of something, something that is catchy, something that is intriguing, and something that would help you to define the whole passage. So terrorism, a curse on humanity, something like that. You read these titles in your newspapers every day, on the editorials every day. So take up such a title, short but hitting the target, right? It should be the core or key point of the original passage. So that is the first thing that you have to remember, that title of the Pressy should be the crux or the highlight of the Pressy. Okay, so guys, if you want to see what a Pressy should look like, so I'll just show you an example. If this is the if this is the space that you are given, so title on the top, and then in one paragraph you have to write your complete Pressy. So Pressy is never written in separate paragraphs. Pressy is always written in one paragraph. You have to remember that. And that paragraph should be organic. It should be coherently connected. The sentence should not, seem distance, apart. So they should feel together. They should look like, yes, this seems like one organic paragraph written by a person who has read and who has comprehended, who has understood the passage thoroughly, and he has only kept the abstract of the passage here. So first point, crux of the passage should be the title. Second, avoid replication of important sentences. This is a strict no-no, guys. You need to remember that you cannot include any specific sentence, or you cannot copy anything from the passage. That would lead to deduction of marks. And whosoever, even if your paper is evaluated through a software or a human being, they will catch it, because copying and pasting is a strict no-no. If they just wanted you to copy and paste everything from the passage itself, don't you think this would be too lame a paper for you to be attending, or for you to be taking? So it's not about copying and pasting, guys. Do remember that it is about your inputs into the Pressy. So avoid, or it's a strict no-no, avoid replication of important sentences. Reframe them in your own words, right? Third, have brevity and clarity. As I told you, it should be on point, it should be organically connected, it should feel like that this is the central theme of the passage, right? So basically, if I want to give you an example for this, let me try to explain to you this way. This is a very subtle way of explaining it. Pressy is basically, if let's say passage is the whole body, right? If passage is the whole body, then summary is the skeleton, right? Where you define the highlights. This is the skull, that's the torso, that's the rib cage, that's your limbs, that's your legs, right? So this is your summary. But Pressy would be the soul of the body. So whatever is the central theme, whatever has been tried to convey by the author, has to be put in your own words, and that is what we call a good Pressy, guys. Got it? So yes, Saloni, if name of a leader or if name of any particular human being, for example, in a passage, if it was mentioned that our finance minister Sitaraman has announced this in the upcoming budget. So you don't put Sitaraman there. What you do is you write by the authorities, it has been conveyed by the authorities, or it has been conveyed by the finance minister. But do not put any specific fact, any data, any name into the Pressy. That is not what they are looking for, right? And this sentence should not be there, by the way. You should just mention by the authorities, it has been decided. For example, the sentence was, the finance minister has announced a a financial aid of 10,000 crore rupees to the rural economy in the next budget, right? So what you do is you only keep the crux that monetary aid, right? You are not using the same word financial aid. What you do is monetary aid, remove the fact, right? 10,000 crores, remove it. Monetary aid has been allocated to the rural economy in the upcoming budget by the authorities. That is what they are looking for. Rephrasal, your understanding and your presentation of the of the key points of the sentences. Got it, Saloni? No, Sonu, you don't need to write title. You just straight away write the title on the top and then straight away with your Pressy. You don't need to highlight anything that this is the title. It is obviously clear that this is the title. You don't need to mention that, right? Marks ka bifurcation. Commerce, what? This is too late to be asking this, but I'll still tell you. In SEBI, reading comprehension is for 40 marks. Essay is for 30 marks and Pressy is again for 30 marks. It used to be the other way around. Before 2020, essay used to be for 40, Pressy and RC used to be for 30-30. But now they have changed the pattern. So in this paper, reading comprehension will be for 40 marks and Pressy and essay would be for 30 marks each. Got it? Yes, that's what I told you. Yes, even if the title is not asked, Anuja, you still have to give it because that is what that is what is called the format of a Pressy. See, every type of composition has a specific type of format. Letter has a different structure, different format for it, right? Report has a different structure, article has a different structure, essay has a different structure, right? Whatever composition you come across, everything has a different structure. So similarly, Pressy has a different structure, right? Even if they have not mentioned, they will also mention that give a title and write it in 120 or 150 or 170 words. But even if they have not said so, you have to provide a title to the Pressy. That is a norm. Got it? So even if they have not asked, you have to provide a title to that. Vinayak, what do we mean by adding your own words? If you want to add something that is not even given in the passage, or that is not something that cannot be inferred from the passage, that should be excluded. For example, if the passage is about terrorism and if you start writing about the Russia-Ukraine war, which has not even been mentioned, right, that is wrong, right? But yes, you can infer something from the passage. Inferring, what do I mean by inferring is, for example, the same statement. For example, there was a statement in the passage saying that our finance minister, M. Sitaraman, has announced or has decided or has announced that a financial aid of 10,000 crore rupees has been allocated to the rural economy in the upcoming budget. So what you can infer from that is, what I would do is, I would reframe, I can put that together is that to bring back the rural economy on its feet, or to provide the necessary push to the rural economy, the authorities have allocated monetary aid to the rural sector. Getting my point? So you have to reframe it and present it in your own way, but it should be on the basis of the premises of the passage. It should not be outside the, something that is not even given or something that you cannot infer from the passage. Got it, guys? Guys, I'll take all your doubts. Please wait. This is not a doubt session. Let me just finish it. There are so many people waiting. So let me just finish everything. And if you still have a doubt after that, then you can ask me and I'll answer all your doubts, guys. Got it? Now, moving on, guys. First is the title should be the crux or the highlight of the passage. Second, avoid replication of important sentences. It should be in your own words. You should not copy and use the same language or the same sentence or sentence, the words that have been given in the passage. You should try to reframe them in your own words, and that is what we call original composition, right? Then, guys, this is a very good trick. Avoid direct speech and use indirect speech. For example, if they have said our finance minister has said this, what you use is indirect way of presentation, that in a third person perspective. For example, the ministry or the central authorities have decided that, right? So you are presenting it as a reporter. So avoid using direct speech. Stop copying the same speech from the passage. Present it in an indirect way in your own form. So it's better to use indirect speech. That looks more formal and it's easy to frame sentences in indirect speech. Got it? Next, guys, Please remember this. This is very important. Exclusion of statistical information or any data. As I told you, 10,000 crore rupees not to be mentioned in the Pressy. If they have said that the agrarian economy has seen a growth of 12.6% or 8.2%, for example, you don't need to mention that, those numbers. What you need to mention is agriculture has also seen a boon, or if something has fallen down, it has plummeted in the recent years. So keep the crux. Do not mention the the specifics, the details. So please remember this. Exclusion of statistical information is very important, and people may be telling you anything out there. Now if you want to believe them, then take your own risk, but what we are presenting you here, that is on the information or the definition that has been laid out by Cambridge University. So I hope you can trust that and you can believe what is right and what is wrong. Now guys, please remember, observe proportion. That is very important. And what do I mean by observe proportion? Now if you're smart, you will take up this strategy. Now if I have to write a Pressy for 150 words, guys, now unless you plan it in a very systematic way, right, you will not be able to execute it. What do I mean by plan it in a logical way? Guys, I know that usually every human being writes about, it's a general thing. It may differ from one to another. But normally this is the average word limit of a sentence. So what we do is we tend to write 10 to 12 words or at max 15 words in a sentence, unless you are joining the sentences intentionally. But in a normal sentence, what we tend to do is we write 10 to 12 or 15 words, right? So basically if I know that, and if I have to make a Pressy for 150 words, right, so I need to understand that how many sentences can I frame. And that is how you observe proportion, right? So that all the important points are given equal weightage, and that is a big, that is a huge challenge for students. What they do is they explain something in 2 or 3 sentences, and then they feel we were not able to explain the other important point. So what do I mean by observe proportion? So if I know that I have 10 to 12 sentences to make, right? If I write 10 to 12 words per sentence, so for 150 words I can make 10 to 12 sentences, right? So I need to understand that out of those 10 to 12 sentences, one sentence would be for introduction, one sentence would be for conclusion, right? So I have, let's say, give or take 8 to 10 sentences to discuss everything in the Pressy. So those 8 sentences should be equally proportionate. Proportionate, what I mean by that is, as I told you earlier, what you have to do is you have to keep on highlighting whatever important point you read in one paragraph. So for example, you started reading the paragraph. On the rough sheet of paper that you will be given, keep on writing the important points for every paragraph. Paragraph number 1, highlights of terrorism. Paragraph number 2, impacts of 9/11. Paragraph number 3, difference between bioterrorism and chemical terrorism. Paragraph number 4, the peace summit that was conducted by these countries in Switzerland, and what was the decision that was taken after that, right? Non-proliferation treaty and all that, right? So that was the highlight of the 4th paragraph. Then 5th paragraph, what the future, what could be the future consequences if there is another world war, right? And then last paragraph, they give you a solution of the issue, or they are giving you a way forward. So you highlight all the important points and put them on the piece of paper. And then if I know that I have 1 sentence for introduction, 1 for conclusion, and I have, let's say, 6 or 7 or 8 sentences more to write. So all those paragraphs, you can understand that I have 8 highlights and I have 8 sentences. So I will be observing proportion. I will be discussing all these points, and I'll make a short organic story kind of thing, right? Which should look interconnected, which should look organic in itself. You should not, one should not feel a jerk while reading the sentences of a Pressy. And I have seen this happening, and I have observed this, and I have pointed it out countless times, right? That let's say if you're writing first sentence is something like this: terrorism is a curse to humanity. If second sentence is something like that, and the occurrence of 9/11 is a proof of that. So that is connected with it. But if I just write that terrorism is a curse to humanity, and second sentence if I write 9/11 has had a lot of consequences on the world. So these 2 sentences, they seem unconnected, right? So that should not happen. You should not feel a jerk. So try to connect those sentences organically so that you can present whatever you want to say there, right? So that is very, very important. So observe proportion. That is the utmost important part, because this is where students get lost while they're drafting their Pressy. And last but not the least, the Pressy should be, if you are not given a word limit, then it is usually considered to be in 1/3 of the original passage. But you will definitely be given a word limit. So please follow the mentioned word limit. Do not exceed that. So that is very, very important, guys. If they have said to write it in 150, that means you should strive to close it as close to as 50 as possible. It's not possible. I know that you cannot finish it in exact 150, but anything between 135, 138 to 150 is perfectly all right. But if you go up to 180, 190, 200, that would lead to deduction of marks. Please remember that, guys. So do not exceed the word limit in a Pressy. You should follow the word limit that has been conveyed in the question. So please read the instructions very, very carefully, right? Don't just hurry up and start writing, and then later on then you regret what you did, right? So don't do that. Please be very, very careful. So these are the key points when you understand what Pressy writing is all about. Now, guys, there are some do's and don'ts that will help you to understand that what Pressy writing is, what Pressy writing entails, and how important and how crucial it is. See, it is for 30 marks, and I feel this is the most scoring part. You know why? Because you can do it in the shortest time possible. You only have to make a paragraph, 120, 150 words, and you just need to read the passage and present it in your own words. So best way to practice a Pressy is read editorials every morning, keep the paper aside after half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, then sit down on your computer, and whatever you remember from that passage, type down, give it a title, catchy title, and type down a paragraph, organic paragraph for that. That will be the best strategy to practice your Pressy. Got it? Yes, commerce, it will be evaluated through a software. Some YouTuber, I don't know what YouTuber, what others are saying, so don't worry about it. So it will be, it was conveyed by RBI last year that these descriptive papers will be, and they have started using that AI based software. So don't try to, guys, don't think that you can fool the software. That is why they are calling it not just a software, AI based software. They would have given those keywords, they would have put those keywords in that software which will catch that if you are copying or not, if you are writing the relevant words or not. So it will catch all that. So don't think that you will be able to fool the software, right? If you're thinking that, somebody was asking me yesterday saying that, sir, some student in the previous exam wrote some essay that was not even given in the topics, and he actually cleared the exam and he got selected. It doesn't work that way, guys, right? He may have said that I wrote something across that topic. For example, if it was about healthcare, he may have written, he may have focused on COVID-19, but that doesn't mean that he can write about anything and you can get selected. It doesn't work that way. So please understand and please prepare accordingly, right? So can we use facts and data, Vinash? I've answered that. Please do not copy paste anything from the passage as it is, because it will catch and it will lead to deduction of marks. So guys, now let's understand some important do's and don'ts of your Pressy writing. Now, first of all, guys, you need to understand how do you start the Pressy. Now, what I have seen students doing is whatever is given in the first paragraph, they take out one sentence from it and then they start the Pressy as it is. Now, guys, if you follow the same structure, if you follow the same pattern of the passage, it would feel like you would feel the jerk while you are shifting sentences. So always the first sentence of the Pressy should be the central theme of the passage. Please remember that. So the first sentence of the Pressy should be the central theme of the passage. It should not be what has been given in the first paragraph. It should be the overall summary of the passage. So please remember this. Start the Pressy with the main idea so that the reader can quickly understand the essence of the Pressy. So that is very, very crucial. So always start the Pressy with the main idea, the central idea of the passage, so that the reader can quickly understand the essence of the Pressy. Second, while writing a Pressy, make a suitable environment where all the points can be described and discussed equally. That is what I meant when I said observe proportion, right? You should give equal importance, equal weightage to all the important points. You should not start explaining one and then regret doing that later. If you delete and if you go back and then you erase some points, that would lead to wastage of time. Don't do that. Start practicing from the get-go, from now onwards, that this is what you are going to do, right? Next, as a Pressy is concise, compress it by using connecting words. This is very, very important, guys. Use conjunctions. However, therefore, consequently, subsequently, instead of, nonetheless, by the, with regards to, right? So use those conjunctions to connect your sentences. Otherwise, your Pressy would, as I told you, you would feel the jerk. and anybody would feel the jerk. I don't know what he has presented here. So basically guys, to understand in simple terms what a Pressy is, if you ask the author, when you wrote this passage, what was going through your head, what else do you want, what you wanted to highlight here, and if you put that in if you try to explain it to a layman, that would be considered a Pressy of a passage in simple terms, guys. Got it? So that is the underlying meaning of a Pressy. So please remember to use these connecting words. They will help you to make an organic paragraph. So as a Pressy is concise, compress it by using connecting words and make sure that space is available to retain the important data, keywords and the concept. That means you should not write individual sentence for all the points. What I mean by that is, see, sometimes what happens is one point which has been discussed in first paragraph, he may highlight the same point in the second last paragraph or third last paragraph. So you don't need to write the same point again. What you can do is you can collate the points and put them together. So please make sure that you remember to use conjunctions. These are very, very important to connect your sentences from one to another. Next, guys, removing the irrelevant data. Guys, remember this, removing the irrelevant data or sentences as important as writing the relevant points. Thus, identify the superfluous data. What happens is, if you are in a habit of reading, you would understand even in a newspaper, even in any article that you read, when do you switch paragraphs? When you are about to discuss a new dimension, a new angle of the topic, right? So that is when a paragraph is switched. So the first line of every paragraph is the key point of that paragraph. Understand that, guys? So always remember that you carefully read the first line, and the rest of the paragraph you can understand, or you will definitely understand from now onwards, that it is an extension of that sentence, right? It is the the supporting statements are followed by. So what you do is, the second paragraph, if it talks about 9/11, so it would be in the first sentence and the rest would be the supporting statement. So always understand which sentence to pick out, which is the highlight of that paragraph. So identify the superfluous data and facts and keep the core idea of the work only. This is important. So identify important key points, important information, and only keep the core idea of the work in the passage. You should not go on explaining something. It is not you have to explain something in a Pressy. What you have to do in a Pressy is you just need to rephrase the passage in your own words, only keeping the core idea of the passage. Got it? Next, guys, do not form personal opinions. This is very important. Do not form personal opinions, remarks and criticism in a Pressy. Don't do that. I've seen students doing that. For example, if the passage says the government has decided to repeal the 3 farm laws in the wake of the farmers' protest that had been going on for 1 year. So if it was given the government has decided, what I have seen students doing is they write government should repeal the farm laws because it is bad for the country. This is your opinion. Don't do that. Don't change the language that has been given in the passage. You have to convey whatever you have read in the passage. Your personal opinions, personal remarks, criticism, appreciation is not required, right? So you have to basically think and understand as if you were the author of the original passage and now you are the author of this Pressy. So you have to consider that why, after reading, let's say if I have written this passage, so what would I write in a Pressy for the same passage? So that is what you have to remember. So do not use your personal opinion, do not use any criticism or anything else beyond the passage. Next, guys, always use the information that is given in the paragraph or the passage only. So that what I mean is only stick to the premises of the passage and whatever you can infer from the information that has been given in the passage. Nothing beyond that will be the right choice of words to present in a Pressy, right? So that is very, very important. Only mention, only discuss in the Pressy whatever has been displayed in the passage only. Do not go beyond that, right? If you start using information that you may or may not have beyond the passage, that would be considered wrong and it would lead to deduction of marks, guys. Please remember that. And last but not the least, do not reuse text from the passage. As I told you, I'm not saying that you cannot use any word from the passage. Obviously the keywords will be the same. Terrorism will be the same, or 9/11 will be the same, or bioterrorism and chemical terrorism will be used, or I'm just citing the example that I just told you, or let's say the Switzerland, the peace treaty will be used. So these keywords have to be used. But beyond that, do not copy or do not reuse text from the passage. That is a strict no-no in a Pressy. It should be your original composition. Got it? And use synonyms. Yes, guys, this is very important. Use the similar words, synonyms to present your... Now, students ask me, sir, how do we create an organic paragraph without using, sentences or phrases from the passage? Use synonyms. Create, if there is something about financial aid, what you do is monetary aid or monetary support, right? It says the same thing. So use synonyms to present your Pressy out there. That is what will make your Pressy organic and excellent. Getting the point, guys? Thank you, Commerce Squad. So thank you for the kind words. Guys, we only intend to help you in this time. And I know this is very critical. The countdown has begun. You only have 9 days left for the exam. So I know you're giving everything. But unless you are working in the right direction, unless you have a roadmap, there is no point, right? You would be making the same mistake. So don't worry about what is going to evaluate your paper or how, how it is going to be evaluated. If you do well, you will definitely crack the exam. There is no doubt about it. So don't have second thoughts that what others are doing, I should follow the same, or I should follow, something that has been conveyed to me, or maybe, through informal channels. Please understand that you should go by the formal channels. You should understand the criticality and you should understand the importance of this paper. It will make or break your exam, guys. Please remember that. So these were some do's and don'ts for your Pressy writing. Now, as I told you, you must remember the format of a Pressy. Now, I have seen students doing this. They start writing a Pressy and then they think that I will give it a title at the end, and then they totally forget about the title and they miss out on 3 or 4 marks, because everything has marks weightage to it. There, as I told you in the last session as well, there are basically 4 parameters of evaluation, guys. Number 1, adhering to the word limit. You should be able to complete all the questions, all the answers within the stipulated time, within the stipulated word limit. Second, structure of your answers. As I told you, every question, every answer, every articulation, every composition has a specific format to it. Essays are not written in bullet points. They are written in paragraphs where you discuss different dimensions. Pressy is written in only one paragraph with a title on the top. Right? Then reading comprehension answers, that depends on what type of question you are writing. If it's an inferential question or if it's a factual question. So that will depend on the type of answer. We will also be discussing that in this session today. But you must understand the format of a Pressy and you must remember and practice in the same sense. Pressy is written in only one paragraph with the title on the top. You must remember that. And second, it should not include any specific references, data, facts, stats from the passage. Keep only the crux of the passage. That is the important point that you have to remember. Remember this word, guys, crux, right? Gist of the passage. That is what you have to pick out and then present it organically in your own words, right? Now, I also wanted to highlight what is the, I wanted to show you this is what a Pressy looks like. So title on the top, the curious case of forgetfulness, and then within the stipulated time, without any factual information, without any specific references, it has been presented in your original words. So that is what we call a good Pressy, right? Organic Pressy, and I will be discussing that with you in this session itself. But before that, I wanted to differentiate between a Pressy and a summary. Please understand what is the underlying difference between a Pressy and a summary, guys. This is very, very important. Why? Now, please read this. I'll be talking about Pressy. Live test of English descriptive Vinayak. One test has already taken place on 9th of March and the second test will be on 14th of March. So guys, we are running a descriptive English live batch. We have conducted all the live sessions and they are kept in the course, recorded. If you want to watch it, you can go in the course and watch those sessions. They are long 3-hour sessions that will really help you to understand the everything about this composition. Then first test has already taken place on 9th and I'm in the process of evaluating that, marking that basically, and the second test will be on 14th of March and I'll also be evaluating that and discussing that in the live sessions. Got it? Vinayak, chalo guys. So let's understand the difference between a Pressy and a summary. If you understand this, and I will give all that in the PDF. So guys, if you want the PDF of this session, the PDF will be provided in the Telegram channel. The link of our Telegram channel has been provided in the description of the video, guys. So let's read about the Pressy and the summary and what is the difference between the two. So guys, many students think that Pressy and summary are one and the same thing. They are not. They are poles apart, right? So please understand the difference. About Pressy, Pressy is a small miniature of any piece of writing which provides the absolute main point of what writing or article can be defined as precise or Pressy, right? Not only the headline, but also the order needs not to be maintained, covering all the important points. So you don't need to maintain the order, you don't need to maintain the title that you feel which is given in the first paragraph, you need to mention it organically, right? So not only the headline, but also the order needs not to be maintained, covering all the important points. The essential points are usually mentioned here in Pressy. The tone of the speech used in the same throughout is the same throughout the read. In Pressy, the conclusion is a must at the end, which will justify the other main points described. So as I told you, it must have an introduction, then all the important points discussed in the middle, and then it should also have a conclusion point with it. On the other hand, what a summary is all about. Now in summary, the summary can be described as a brief of all the recorded points in any article. See, it is a brief of all the recorded points. That is the difference. Whereas Pressy is a miniature of the original passage, which provides only the absolute main point, the central theme of the passage that has to be discussed organically in that paragraph. Whereas summary, in summary, you have to discuss all the important points that have been highlighted in the passage. Got it? Then any passage or article with a shortened variation depicts a summary, where the headline is necessary, not so important, right? Is necessarily not so important. So in a summary, you do not give a title, right? But in Pressy, you have to give a title. So that is another difference. Third, it must consist of an appropriate heading and also maintains the order of the original passage written. So it has to have, it should be in the order of the original passage. You have to maintain the sequence of paragraphs into a summary. But in Pressy, you don't need to follow the sequence of the passage. You can jumble it around and you can create your original paragraph, and you should do that. That is how it can be differentiated from the original passage, and that is how it is differentiated from a summary. Got it? The tone used in summary varies and necessarily is not needed to be in order. The summary can also skip the conclusion and mean the same. So as I told you, Pressy is the soul of the passage, whereas summary is the skeleton. So in skeleton, you discuss every highlight: skull, torso, rib cage, limbs, right? Legs, thighs, shins, then your feet. This is your summary. But Pressy is the soul, where you discuss only the core point that has been highlighted by the author. I am reiterating the same thing over and over again. And why am I doing this? So that I can reach out and I can actually basically differentiate between the two. So you can remember this by this short points. Now Pressy, it must have a heading. It is a small replica of the article. No need for maintaining the order, the sequence of the passage. It contains the main or essential points. The same tone is used throughout. You cannot change the tone. You cannot use your opinions. You have to be using the same tone. The main idea has to be extracted, and it contains a conclusion as well. So that is the key points or the highlights of a Pressy. On the other hand, summary, a heading is not that required. It is a brief description of the article. The order should always be maintained here. It covers all the important points, whereas Pressy only discusses the highlight, the central theme. Next, it is expressed in terms of reader's own words. So it is presented in reader's own words, right? But Pressy has to be presented in the author's own way of tone of presentation. So as I told you, you should feel, or you should think that the original passage has been written by you, and now you are writing the Pressy for the same. So you should think that, and then you should try and write your Pressy. Then the idea is already extracted in the shortest form possible. Not every time ends with a conclusion. That is the basic difference between a Pressy and a summary. Acha, Himanshi. Okay. Got it. Sanchita, a good score can say, as I discussed in the previous session as well, anything beyond 75 is an excellent score. 70 to 75, very good. 65 to 70, still good. But below 65, I think it's a I don't think you will be able to make it beyond that, right? And I'm saying this, on the basis of the previous year marks that have been, scored by the students. There may be a change in the, in the evaluation this time. For example, in this PFRD exam, we saw the cutoff, went as low as 43 marks. What is 43? Just on the brink of of minimum requirement. So the cutoff was 43. So anything beyond 43 was a good score. So anything up to 50 is an excellent score in that type of paper. But it depends on the evaluation as well, right? But this is, I'm quoting on the previous year marks that have been taken by the students. So anything beyond 75, excellent score. 70 to 75, very good. 65 to 70, still good. But below 65, then it is a problem, right? Then it would depend on your luck and fortune and what you score in the second paper. That would define the the final outcome. Got it? So that is my input in that. All right, guys, please stop the personal chats here. Right, chalo. So let's move further, guys. I think you've understood what Pressy writing is all about. Now, I wanted to discuss a Pressy with you, so I'll read a passage for you, and then I'll show you a sample Pressy for the same, so that you get an idea how Pressy is formed. So please read it with me carefully, and I hope you will get an idea. I think this cannot get any better than that. So don't forget to like the session, guys. That is the least you can do, at least, right? So please don't forget to like it, and if you want to, you can share it as well, right? So let's read the passage, guys. Nearly 6 decades ago, a professor in a Walt Disney comedy bequeathed immortality to a mental failing that has been a reoccurring cause of red faces. So he has bequeathed immortality to a mental failing that has been a recurring cause of red faces. He's talking about a comedy movie. The professor was bright and brainy, but so single-mindedly focused on high matters of science that he could never remember the more mundane asides of life, including his forthcoming wedding. So the professor, he was so absent-minded that he forgot his own wedding. Right? The absent-minded professor may have been a laugh riot, but absent-mindedness is no laughing matter. Right? So that is the crux, that is the original highlight of the passage. Now, at work, if you misplace a file or stand up to make a presentation only to realize that your notes are in the drawer at home, you will be deemed slack and clearly unfit for what HR departments describes as higher responsibilities. So that was the point here. That is what he is trying to convey, that in today's world, if you forget something important, you will be considered a poor employee. Right? Let's read further, guys. Present day society, with its fetish about practical efficiency, does not readily forgive us. So this society does not readily forgive us. The serial forgetters, that's he is talking about, people who forget every day, little small things. Word goes around that our memory has more holes than a mosquito net. The extended family will then stand on the sidelines and snigger while the spouse, out of wifely concern, suggests consulting the friendly neighborhood neurologist, just in case it's an early warning sign of dementia, which is a very critical disease, right? So people are taking forgetfulness or absent-mindedness very critically these days. Relax, it's nothing of that sort. So this is what the author has said. So relax, it's nothing to worry about. Let's read further, guys. Listen to the experts. George Grossberg, director of geriatric psychology at St. Louis University School of Medicine, says, someone who misplaces his keys, gets frustrated and runs around looking for them is just absent-minded. On the other hand, a person who misplaces her keys doesn't know that they are lost, and after they are found, forgets what they are for. That's cause for concern. So forgetting basic general, daily small things is not a problem, but totally missing out on everything is a problem. That is what he says, right? The director of geriatric psychology at St. Louis University. Next, guys, if you have gone that far, you are in safe territory. Now, we of the forgetful fraternity also have historian cum philosopher Yuval Noah Harari. I think he is a very famous writer. I think if you've read his novel, I think Sapiens, right? I think I read it quite long ago. So yes, so we of the forgetful fraternity also have historian cum philosopher Yuval Noah Harari on our side. He says that human mind is not designed to think like a filing cabinet. A normal mind does not move like a regiment on parade, rather like a Jasprit Bumrah run-up. Our line of thought hops, stops and pops as memory surrenders to our poet-like imagination. Right, so many people, even some psychologists and some very eminent people also support this theory that forgetting things is not a problem, right? Our brain is not designed to work like a file cabinet or a computer. We are human beings and we tend to forget things. That is what makes us human, right? So that has been conveyed here. Now there are many ways of polishing a rusty memory. These range from regular meditation to declutter your top story to eating brain food like almonds every morning. If you tend to forget the names of people you have met, you are told to repeat the name under your breath till your mind has got it pat. More discretion is advised. Suppose you are repeating Roop Rani, make sure your wife is not within earshot. So he's also using sarcasm with this, with his words. Now last guys, if none of this works, do not despair. Not everything in this world is of lasting significance. Why carry around the burden of unpleasant remembrances or the overhang of guilt? As Khalil Gibran said, forgetfulness is a form of freedom. Got it guys? Yes guys, so have you read this with me? Now let me show you what a sample Pressy for this passage should look like. Organic in your own words, but still saying the same thing. So please read that guys. The title has been very aptly said, the curious case of forgetfulness, right? Now what has been written here? The underlying issue of forgetfulness may have been a laughing stock for ages. However, this forgetfulness, see how he has used the conjunction to cite another point. So you do remember to use these to connect those sentences. However, this forgetfulness can cause great professional damage to a person at the workplace. The present day society does not tolerate forgetfulness as an ailment and recommends one seeks professional help. Experts from the field of medicine attribute forgetfulness as not serious if it is a case of absent-mindedness, but warn against the extreme ones. Philosophers have agreed that human mind is not designed like a filing cabinet for memories. There are many methods to improve one's memory, ranging from meditation, eating almonds, and decluttering one's mind. However, one must not have guilt over the issue of forgetfulness, as there is not much of great significance in the world. See guys, everything is in proportion, right? Everything that was discussed in the passage has been highlighted here organically. Obviously the keywords have to be used, but no specific references of Yuval Noah Harari or the professor of university and all that. All that was superfluous data, superfluous information. Got it guys? And this is what you should strive to understand, that this is what we call an organic Pressy. Got it guys? Now if you have any more doubts about Pressy writing, please feel free to ask guys. I'll be more than happy to help you out in this, and I shall take all your doubts, and after that we'll start with the reading comprehension. How to overcome forgetfulness. So Sanchita, it was not about overcoming forgetfulness. It was basically about not taking forgetfulness as a very serious illness or something people criticize a lot these days. So it's not such a big deal. It's okay to forget, but not to the extremity, right? That should be the title, right? Akhil, I don't know what students did not get low marks in PFRDA. What they did was, the evaluation was very difficult. See, if the cutoff is 43, obviously, all the students cannot, perform bad or perform poorly. So it's basically about the cutoff. The cutoff is 43. If you're scoring beyond 45, 47, that means you did well, right? So if the highest score is 80 and if the cutoff is 40, it doesn't work that way. I hope you understand. So obviously the evaluation was very difficult. Sanchita, yes, you have to present it in a viewer response, as if you have written the original passage and you are writing the Pressy yourself. So you are trying to give the abstract of the passage. So you don't need to write third person as if he said or she said or somebody has believed. So as if you are presenting the same thing in your own words. That is called a Pressy, Sanchita. The side effects of forgetfulness. Yes, Rishabh, that can be used. Forgetfulness is and not an overestimated characteristic. Yes, that can be the title, Milind. RC, if you attempt 2 sub questions out of 3, will we get 0 marks? No, Rituraj, you will see, if you only attempt 2 questions out of 3, you will only be scoring out of 2, right? You will not be scoring out of 3. So that doesn't mean that you will score 0. Whatever you have written will fetch you marks, but your aim should be to finish all the answers. That is what you should be concerned about, right? Yes, Shivani, you just have to write the title. You don't need to highlight anything, and then straight from the next line, you don't need to leave a line blank in the middle. After you've written your title, press enter space first and then enter. The cursor will move to the next line and then start writing your Pressy straight after that, just below that. You don't need to leave a line blank or anything beyond that. Got it? RC is 40, essay Pressy 30. Yes, Sanchita, absolutely true. So guys, no more doubts. Shall we begin? Shall we begin with the reading comprehension part, guys? Are you ready? All right, guys. So let's start with the preparation strategy for reading comprehension. Now, how should you take reading comprehension? What reading comprehension is all about? Now, guys, the first thing that I want to, to clear from the onset, you need to understand that this reading comprehension question or this reading comprehension passage, guys, students ask me, sir, there is no word limit prescribed for reading comprehension. They will definitely give you a word limit for essay. They will definitely give you a word limit for Pressy. But for reading comprehension, they will not mention any word limit. They'll just give you the questions and they will ask you to write answers on that. But you need to understand the psychology of the question, guys. The psychology of the question. What do I mean by the psychology of the question? See, why are they giving you reading comprehension in this paper? Well, first of all, ask yourself that. They have already they've already tested you on reading comprehension in phase 1. Then why are they giving it again? Now, guys, many students ask me, sir, is it okay if I find the right answer from the passage? And many students believe that as well, that if they find the right answer from the passage and if they put the answer there, they think that that is the requirement. But guys, please listen to this carefully and please tell me if you agree with me or not. Guys, if they just wanted you to find the facts from the passage, don't you think they would have just given you multiple choice questions? Please listen to this carefully again. If they just wanted you to find the facts from the passage, don't you think they would have just given you multiple choice questions? But what is the point of calling it a descriptive English paper? Descriptive English. Now, in this, they want to see your elaboration, right? So please understand, Pressy was about contraction skills, where you need to contract the passage. Whereas reading comprehension, it's all about elaboration skills. How well you elaborate your answers and how well presented they are, how well, backed up they are. Now, this is what is required in this particular type of composition. Got it? So, what kuch bhi, Sanchita? How many lines? So guys, to do justice to the question, let's say if there are 4 questions for 40 marks, right? That means every question is for 10 marks. So for a 10-mark answer, if you only write 1 or 2 sentences, do you think you are doing justice to the word limit? Please ask yourself, if you were the evaluator and somebody submitted 2 lines for a 10-mark question, how much marks would you score them? Now, if you ask yourself that question, you will get the answer that you're looking for. For a 10-mark question, you at least need to do justice to the word limit. So, for every answer, you need to write at least 50 to 60 words in this paper, right? At least that would do justice to the question itself. That is what they want to see. If you can locate the answer from the passage, if you can if you can elaborate that in your own words, and if you can justify the word limit there, if you have the skill of elaboration. And what do I mean by elaboration? And now many students confuse elaboration with using whatever information they have in their head to put it in the answer. No, guys, again, you have to limit yourself to the information that is given in the passage only. You cannot write anything beyond that. So, sometimes students ask me, sir, sometimes it is very difficult to, write more than 1 or 2 sentences. So what should you do? So there is something that we call psychological elaboration, guys. Now, what is psychological elaboration? I'll give you an example. What you do is you infer something, you infer the underlying meaning, or you read between the lines and then you use that to support or to strengthen your answer. I'll give you an example. For example, there was a statement in the passage that said, I'll take the same example, that recently our finance minister M. Sitaraman has declared that in the upcoming budget, a financial aid or a monetary support of 10,000 crore rupees has been allocated to the rural economy. So, and let's say there was a question, what steps and measures have been taken by the government to revive the rural economy? Right. So I would use the same sentence, I would break it up and I would convert it into 3 sentences. That is what I call elaboration. So what I would do there, if I were in your place, I would make it 3 sentences, something like that. First sentence, a momentous decision of supporting the rural, or providing the necessary push to the rural economy has been taken by the government. Full stop. Next sentence. Under this decision, the government or the authorities, central authorities, have allocated, a monetary aid or financial benefit, financial aid, financial support to the rural economy of 10,000 crore rupees in the upcoming budget. And third sentence would be, now this monetary aid would definitely provide the necessary push, or it would bring back the rural economy on its feet, and it would provide the necessary push so that many people who were who are still suffering in this economy may come out of this problem or of this issue. So I am saying something that I have inferred from the passage. I'm just elaborating on the same line. So that is what they call elaboration. Getting it, guys? I have not used any information that was not conveyed in the passage, right? But I have elaborated that in my own way of presentation. So in reading comprehension, you have to use as much information as you can collect from the passage itself. So let's understand what reading comprehension is all about and what you need to understand in this. Now, first of all, guys, the best strategy to solve this passage, guys, if you do not know the interface of this exam, you will lose a lot of time. Why? Because the question is on the top, and below that is the dialog box where you have to write the answer. So when you scroll up, at once you can either see the passage or you can see the dialog box. So what happens if you do not mark your keywords, or if you do not locate your answers in the passage? What will happen if you start typing, and if you want to re-refer to the passage, you will have to scroll up, then you will have to scroll down, then click on the cursor again and then write, and then you have to scroll up again to re-refer, and then you have to scroll down, and that takes a lot of time. That wastes a lot of time. So the same strategy should be used in this. While reading the passage, you should mark your keywords, you should mark your answers as you go, and your aim should be to read the passage only once, not beyond that. Got it? So guys, please understand the tricks to solve reading comprehension. The first and the most important, reverse reading. I may have discussed this with you earlier as well. Reverse reading is the best way to solve a comprehension. Now guys, what happens? In reverse reading, what you do is you read the questions first and then you read the passage. You know why? Because if you straightway start reading the passage without reading the question, the passage will seem like you. Everything will seem important, and you will try to focus and you will try to comprehend each and every word of that. Right? That is not actually required. Basically, at the end of the day, they are not going to be scoring you on how well understood, how well you comprehended the passage. They will be scoring you on the answers that you will write. Right? So your main aim is to score the answer. So how to do that? Read the questions first, mark the keywords in the questions so that you can remember those keywords, and then read the passage. Now it will not be a story to you. Now it will seem like a mission to you, where you have the keywords. For example, I'll be giving you 3 questions, 4 questions. Now you remember the keywords, and then you can find all the answers. Question number 1: what is the root cause of terrorism? According to the passage, what is the root cause of terrorism? Let's say that was the first question. Second question: what were the consequences of the attacks of 9/11 on America? That was the second question, right? Third question: what steps and measures have been taken against terrorism across the globe? That was the third question. And fourth question is, let's say it's an inferential question. What does the author want to convey by this passage, or what can be understood from this passage? So that is an inferential question, right? So guys, if I know the keywords, right, consequences of 9/11, if I remember the second question, the underlying cause of terrorism, right? If I remember the highlight of the third question, what steps and measures have been taken by the government? So if I remember the keywords, now if I start reading the passage, I can score, and I can find out all my answers in one go, in one reading, right? So now if I start reading the passage, I know what I have to look for, number 1. Number 2, I already have a general idea about the passage. So guys, after reading these questions, I think you can figure it out that the passage is going to be about terrorism, right? And you know the questions, so you also know what would have been discussed in the passage. There must be something about terrorism, or there must be a paragraph or something about 9/11 and the consequences of it. There must be something about the steps and measures taken by the government. So you already know half of the structure of the passage and what would you find in the passage, right? So what you do is you start reading the passage. So whatever opening paragraph, it all highlights the criticality of terrorism in the world, but there is no answer there. So you read it, good. You moved on to the second paragraph. Now they started discussing 9/11. Now you'll find your answer right here. So what you do in the rough piece of paper, you mark down answer number 1, paragraph number 2. You keep on reading further. you find your second answer, a second answer for your question number second, you mark down answer for second question, paragraph number 3 and 4. Then question number 3, paragraph number 5 and 6. And last, there's an inferential question, you can only answer it after reading the whole passage. So that way, and the other trick that I told you while reading the Pressy, always highlight, always mark down important points of each paragraph when you are reading the passage. That way you will not have to re-refer to the passage over and over again. You can just look at the piece of paper and you can take down whatever you want to discuss. So best strategy to save time is to start highlighting the paragraphs, key points of every paragraph, and then locating your answers as you go along. This way you will only have to read the passage once, and even if you have to re-refer to again, let's say to finalize your answers or to look at some some specific word, some specific data that is given, right, you can just look at the paper, paragraph number 2, switch there, read it quickly, come back, write down your answer. It saves a lot of time, and guys, try it. This will definitely benefit you in the long run. So reverse reading, the most important trick. Second, mark the keywords in the questions as you go along. That is very, very important. Unless you do that, you will not be able to write all the answers within the time limit. Guys, you must understand 60 minutes is too short a time to be attempting these 3 questions. So you have to have a strategy before you even start writing your answers, and you should practice that strategy from now onwards. You should have been doing it all along, right guys? Yes, you can. Now guys, in reading comprehension, now you have to present the answer in your own words, but in this you should use facts and data, specific references from the passage to strengthen your answer. For example, if the question is what are the steps and measures taken by the government, now you can use every relevant example that is given in the passage, but it should be in your own words. What do I mean by in your own words? You should start something like that. The rural economy, by looking at the current state of the GDP or of the economic growth, the rural economy needs a lot of let's say work, or it needs a lot of looking after. So for the same, the government and authorities have taken a lot of steps and measures. Right now, you can write your answer in bullet points. Maybe you can mention all the steps and measures that have been discussed in the passage in bullet points, or you can also take a paragraph approach. So in reading comprehension, you can use both paragraph as well as bullet points. It actually depends on the question. If the question is factual, if it is asking you to discuss all the steps and measures taken, right, so you can use bullet points, but remember, do not write incomplete points. What I've seen students doing is, this, that there are many steps taken by the government, and some of them are as follows. Then number 1, monetary benefit. Number 2, infrastructural benefit, right? This is copying and pasting. So what would be the point of calling it a descriptive English paper, right? This is just copying and pasting from the passage. Where is your input in this? Getting my point? So they want to see your elaboration. So what you do is, even if you are writing bullet points, write complete sentences. Don't write incomplete points. Okay? So that should be your approach. So once again, coming to the point where we are learning how to write and how to frame our answers. So mark the keywords in the questions and memorize the keywords while you are reading the passage, so you can identify the answer as you go along. So you should, by this way, you will only be reading the passage once, and you will be understanding and unraveling all the questions in one go, and that should be your aim. Read the passage once, start your answers, re-refer maybe a couple of times, but you should be on your own after that. You should not be reading the passage over and over again, because what if you don't do that? What will happen if you read the passage without the questions, without the keywords? You will read it once very carefully, you will come to question number 1 and you'll think, oh yes, there was something about this. You will again go to the passage, find out look for the answer, waste your time, then find the answer, put it there, then question number 2, again you read and find out, you scan the whole passage and find out the answer. So this way you are reading the passage 5 times, right? Once before and 4 times now while solving the question. That is wastage of time, and you do not have the luxury in this paper of time, right? So that is what you need to understand, guys. Next, try to recognize the main idea of the passage. That is very, very important for your inferential questions, right? So always try to figure out the central theme. For example, this was terrorism, right? Or it was about economic growth, right? About the Sitaraman wala passage, the example that I was discussing, right? Then you should know what to look for, right? If you know the keywords, right? I need to find out the consequences of 9/11. So that should be in my head. The steps and measures taken by the government, that should be in my head, right? the underlying causes of terrorism, or let's say the difference between bioterrorism and chemical terrorism. So difference, bioterrorism, chemical terrorism, it should be there in my head. So when I'm going through, it should strike me whenever I read any of these words. It will tell me that this is where my answer is hidden, right? Then while reading the passage, look for the keywords and marked in the question. So always try to look for the keywords. That means know what you look for. Then avoid getting stuck anywhere, guys. Don't get stuck anywhere. Do not waste your time on over explaining or over understanding. So even if you don't understand one phrase or one line, the rest of the passage will tell you what has been displayed or what has been discussed there. So don't get stuck, and mark the important points of each paragraph. That is, I told you earlier, very, very important strategy. Got it? Now, what to remember further, guys? Do's and don'ts of your reading comprehension. Number one, stick to the premises of the passage and don't add opinions, remarks, or criticism. You have to convey whatever has been given in the premises of the passage itself. Beyond that, if you add anything from your own knowledge, from your own experience, that would be wrong. So you have to elaborate the information that is given in the passage psychologically, on your own, organically, but don't add anything that is not even given in the passage, that is not even mentioned in the passage. Don't do that. Next, answer should be coherent and elaborated. That means they should be relevant to the question and they should be elaborated. If you feel that there is an overlapping going on, that sir, I mentioned the same point in the consequences of terrorism and the steps and measures taken by the government, and in the last question, which was an inferential question, what does the author want to convey by this passage? So if you feel that the same thing will be overlapping in that answer, that's perfectly all right. Use different form of presentation. That is what you need to do. But you need to understand that yes, overlapping is possible and it is required, but you should not just copy the same sentence, right? Present it in a different way, right? So that is what is required. So answer should be coherent and elaborated. Next, now in Pressy, I told you do not use any fact, any specific references from the passage, right? But in reading comprehension, use facts and references from the passage to support your thesis, right? For example, if I say the government has taken cognizance of the issue and they have decided to provide, they have taken a lot of steps and measures to revive the rural economy. So how do I need to, now I need to justify my answer. Now, how would I do that? Right? So I will take the instances, the references from the passage, but do not copy them. Present them in your own words. That is what I'm talking about. So use facts and data and specific references from the passage to elaborate and strengthen your answer at the same point of time. But do not copy paste anything. Don't copy it as it is. Use a different form of presentation. Got it, guys? Now obviously it looks like a lot of hard work, but see, if this paper were that easy, then anybody, any Tom, Dick and Harry would have cracked this exam. This requires some practicing. This requires some very efficient work, a lot of hours that you need to put in. And once you start feeling confident about your answers, then you go out there and execute very good articulated answers there. So that is the whole point. Right, so use facts and references from the passage to support your thesis. Rephrase the answers in original articulation. It should be your presentation of the answers. It should not be copied and pasted from the passage, as I told you. So don't copy and paste, and use bullet or paragraphs depending on the question. Depending on the question means, what I mean by depending on the question, as I told you, if it's a factual question, like which requires steps and measures taken by the government, use bullet points. That's perfectly all right, but write complete sentences. But if it's an inferential question, like what is the purpose of the author to write this passage, or what has been discussed in the second paragraph of the passage, or what is the highlight of the whole passage. So in this type of answer, don't use bullet points, use paragraphs to write your answer. Simple as that, right? So what type of questions you may face in the exam? Let's look at that. First type of questions are inference based questions. Now these are tricky ones and require the candidates to understand the passage carefully. Obviously, if they ask you to write what has been tried to convey, right, in this passage, obviously you will have to make a, you have to highlight each and everything from the passage. So obviously these are the tricky ones because you need to understand the whole passage, right? So to answer them, in such questions, a logical conclusion has to be made which perfectly fits that context and represents a particular fact aptly. Now question based on inference reasoning can be like these could be the questions. What can be inferred from the sentence? They may highlight a sentence. Or what does the sentence, they'll put the sentence, and what does this sentence imply imply, or what does the author mean by the line this, or they can just give you a simple question, what is the purpose of the author to write this passage, or what has been highlighted in this passage. So there's such inferential questions, right? What do I mean by inferential? You will have to read and take out the meaning, read between the lines, and then present your answers, right? So in such answers, use your imagination to create your answers and present them in paragraphs in original context, right, in your own words. So in inference questions, candidates need to identify inference sources and understand the context thoroughly. If a particular sentence is given, read the entire paragraph and check for particular clues. Answering these questions can be easy if the context and idea of the entire passage are understood properly. So that is the first type of question you may face. And second, paragraph and structure based questions, right? Factual questions, simply put. So in RC section, questions might also be asked related to a particular paragraph or structure of the passage. These questions test the candidate's intuitive and logical sense. Some of the examples: the measures taken by the organization in the passage can be best described as, or the second paragraph criticizes what, or the third paragraph describes what. So these are paragraph and structure based questions. Now, in these questions, candidates are required to comprehend each passage, that means each paragraph, properly, and keep the key ideas in mind. It is suggested to pay attention to certain definite words like ironically, although, but, because they provide, contradictory points there. So do watch out, do look out for these words, such words, so that you don't get confused. And these shape the idea of the passage and are extremely crucial to represent a particular passage. Got it? So you may face two types of questions there: inferential questions or structure or factual questions. They'll not just ask you one simple fact that, okay, please highlight that one sentence. No. So they'll ask you to basically discuss one paragraph, and then they want you to elaborate in your own words. Got it, guys? So this is basically about reading comprehension. Very good, tech and games. Yes, absolutely, you can. From which part we need to start? From Pressy? That is your call, Himanshi, because you should start. I told you in the earlier session as well, it's your call. Always start with the section that you feel the most confident about, right? Because once you are done with that part, you will have a lot of peace of mind that, okay, this is done, now I need to focus and I can spare the rest of the time on the difficult part. But if you start with the difficult part, and if somehow you take more than required time, then you will panic in the long run after the section, and you will see that that will also affect your good part. So my suggestion, always start with the comfortable section that you feel the most comfortable with. Be done with that quickly. The next part, which is easier for you, that is Pressy, right? Short, very little time consuming, and then go to the difficult part, and that's your call, whichever section you want to try first. If you feel I can go with the reading comprehension, I should go with the reading comprehension first, quickly be done with all the questions, and then I'll jump onto the Pressy and then spare rest of the time for essay, because essay needs a lot of inputs and composition and all that. So you can take that, or you can start with the essay. If you feel confident with that, use facts and data that you remember, that you prepare beforehand. Frame a good essay, be done with it, then you are satisfied, then go for the Pressy, then spend rest of the time for your reading comprehension. So you can take any approach, but my suggestion, start with the comfortable part first. That would really help you in your exam. Got it? All right. Sir, passage for RC Pressy, can that be expected? What do you mean by expected, Milind? You cannot expect that. Please don't think that you may have read it before. Even you may have read it, but you won't remember it, right? We tend to forget that. We only keep the gist. So as human beings, we are, our brain is formed that way. So we tend to remember only the key ideas, the highlights. Even if you've read that passage, you'll not be able to recognize the whole passage in one go. You'll again have to read it. So what type of passage you may face? It may be based on economy, it may be based on the war that is going on, it may be on the union budget, or the IPOs that are being launched. It could be based on current affairs. It could be a very abstract passage, like last year the passage that they gave in SEBI was addiction of mobile phones. Right, so which was very off topic, very surprising. So it was about addiction of mobile phones, how people are getting addicted to mobile and how it is affecting their health and how it can be understood. So that was a very abstract topic. So you should be prepared for both the scenarios. You may see a passage that is based on economy or finance or current affairs, or you may also face some abstract topic out there. Got it? Tech and games, segregation for time should be 20, 15 and 25. 20 minutes for Essay, 15 minutes for Pressy, that includes reading the passage and writing your Pressy. 5 minutes to read the passage, 10 minutes to draft your Pressy, and then 25 minutes for RC, because that is the biggest chunk of your paper. 40 marks, 4 questions, and you have to write the most in that. Essay for 200 words, be done in 20 minutes. Pressy for 150 words, be done in 15 minutes, right? But reading comprehension, 4 questions, you have to read the passage, and then 60 to 70 words, 50 to 60 words per answer. That means you have to write 250 to 60 words, right? So that is the biggest part. So that should be your strategy. 20 for essay, 15 for Pressy, 25 for reading comprehension, if you ask me, right? Yes, Chitranshi, all the streams will be having the same time, so you don't need to worry that all the students will be taking this exam, and the exam will be, this exam is common for all the streams. So these topics, these passages are same for all the streams, they are not different, but your subjective, the second paper, that would be according to your stream, but this exam is common for all. Got it? Essay topics were also easy, Manshi, that easy for you to say, right? The essay topics that were given importance of leadership skills. Then another topic was rise in number of old age homes, right? So if somebody is not in the habit of writing topics or essays like that every day, he would have felt the crunch, right? So if they were easy, very well done. No, Milind, there will be 2 separate passages. Guys, please remember, before 2020, all these organizations, SEBI, NABARD, RBI, they used to give a common passage for both RC and Pressy. But SEBI in 2020 started this pattern that they are giving now 2 different passages, short passages, but 2 different passages. So one separate passage for Pressy, one separate passage for reading comprehension. So be ready, be prepared for that. Utkarsh, yes, it would be 200, because last year it was 200. It may be 220, it may be 250, but it cannot go beyond that, as I told you, because whatever has been conveyed in that the handout provided by SEBI, that is a very old handout, and it is a copy of NABARD handout. So what they do is they just copy it every year, and students get confused. And they have written below that this sample is only illustrative. This is not exhaustive, right? And what we are going from is the 60-minute pattern. In 60 minutes, you cannot write 400-word essay, then 150-word Pressy, then 250 words reading comprehension. That would be more than 800 words, which is not possible for everyone. So they are not testing you for your typing speed, right? They are testing you for your articulation. So they would give you only that, only enough time to complete all the answers. But if you practice beforehand, you will be able to execute well out there, right? Yes, Tech and Games, word counter will be displayed on the screen. You will be able to see that how many words you have already written in one particular paragraph, right? Yes, absolutely. Now guys, let's move further. Now I wanted to solve a passage with you. I wanted you to see what type of and what kind of answers you would be framing there. So guys, do you want me to solve it, or do you want me to give it to you and you solve it on your own? Although I have sample answers for this, do you want to do it right now, or do you want to do it later? What do you say? Yes guys, and guys, if you've not liked the session, okay, that is the worst thing that you can do. So guys, please like the session, please share it. It may find someone who actually needs it, right? So please don't forget to like the hit button, and if you've not subscribed to our channel, please do so. Do join our Telegram channel so that you can find all these PDFs for free, so that you can get prepared, you can get benefited from it. So yes guys, let's do it now. All right, so if you want to do it now, 4 questions would be there in reading comprehension, Saloni. Right, so chalo guys, padhte hain. Let me read it out to you, and let's see what type of questions you may face and what sort of answers you have to deliver. So I'll just read it out to you quickly. Yes guys, now let's begin. India's economy is likely to grow 2.5 times to 7 trillion by 2030 from about 3 trillion now, making India the world's 3rd largest economy. This implies that nominal GDP growth is likely to average just over 10% through the next decade, Dutch Bank said in a research report Imagine 2030. The sharp slowdown in the recent years, despite Indian economy's promise over the last decade, is not indicative of what is in the store for the next decade, Dutch Bank said. Despite its promise over the last decade, the Indian economy has slowed down sharply in the recent years. This has led some to predict the decade ahead will be one of the lower growth, and frustration that India's enormous potential will yet again go unfulfilled, and the report said. See guys, if I straight away start reading the passage, can you figure out what is important and what is not? You will be reading all that very, very carefully. Am I right? But as I told you, if you read the questions first, that would make your attempt, that would make your reading comprehension much better. Now let me put it let me try it the other way around, right? So let's read the questions first and let's mark the keywords. Let's do this. Discuss the current state of the Indian economy. So I have to figure out the current state of Indian economy. What state is in the Indian economy? That is my keyword. Second, describe how the government plans to revive the economy. So I have to find the steps and measures or the plan of the government to revive the economy. And third, discuss the purpose of the author to write this article. Let's say you are given these 3 questions, right? Now I know what I have to find, right? If I had read these questions before passage, I would understand that this is going to be about economy. It is going to be about reviving the economy. So I know the underlying theme of the passage before even starting the passage, right? And this is an inferential question. Now if I read, now I would understand what is important for me and what is not, right? All right, guys. So let's try to do it. Okay. So let's start with the passage now. India's economy is likely to grow 2.5 times to 7 trillion by 2030 from 3 trillion now. So we are at this mark and we are about to grow double within the next 10 years, making India the world's 3rd largest economy. Now this implies that our GDP is assumed to be over 10% throughout the next decade as a report by Dutch Bank in Imagine 2030. But the other way around is, the reality is the sharp slowdown in the recent years despite Indian economy's promise over the last decade is not indicative of what is in the store for the next decade, Dutch Bank said. So it has also given the other way that but looking at the past, we cannot be sure that India will be able to achieve that because the current state is quite bad, right? Despite its promise over the last decade, the Indian economy has slowed down sharply in the recent years. This has led some to predict that the decade ahead will be one of lower growth and frustration, that India's enormous potential will yet again go unfulfilled, the report said. Right, let's read further. So that is the state of Indian economy right now. That was my answer number 1. If I was solving the passage, I would do this. Then let's read further. As far as India's economic growth is concerned, it may remain below potential in the near term. As far as India's economic growth is concerned, it may remain below potential in the near term. However, ongoing government measures will give measured push to its potential in the future. Now we are talking about the reality. For starters, to offset the demand slowdown, the government took the bold decision in September 2019 to meaningfully cut the corporate tax rate. So that is the first plan of the government. That was a first step. So there is a question, what is the plan of the government to revive the economy? So that is the first point of that, right? So they have intentionally or meaningfully cut down the corporate tax rate. This will likely incentivize greater foreign direct investment flow into the country and support private investment in the economy, which has remained weak over the last 8 years, the report said. Next, additionally, the Reserve Bank of India's RBI's decision to cut the key lending rate by 135 basis points in the calendar 2019 will revive growth, the report said. Apart from these stimulus measures, reforms initiated in the last few years should also improve the medium-term outlook, it added. So another point that can be put in my answer. Let's read further. As economies with significantly higher informal sector employment, as economies with significantly higher informal sector employment, such as India, typically have low per capita income, policies which are aimed at greater formalization, right, of the economy should help to accelerate per capita income levels, the report said. Now reforms such as demonetization, so this is again another point that I want to mention here. Reforms such as demonetization and rollout of GST, goods and services tax, are likely to play a major role in formalization of the economy and will bear fruits in the next decade, the report said. Now while demonetization has resulted in incentivizing a faster pace of digitization, GST by the very nature of its design will expedite formalization of the economy and will consequently improve the fiscal and growth dynamics of the country. So that is the benefit of this. Now moving further, demonetization and GST apart, India's bankruptcy law, IBC, right, that came into force in 2017 will also help drive the growth in the upcoming decade. Even the Reserve Bank's move to adopt inflation targeting and establish positive real interest rates in the economy will boost growth in the next decade. So these all points were my answer for my second question. And all in all, what could be described as the author's purpose, that whatever people are predicting about India's economy, the plans and the steps and measures taken by the government, they definitely will give or provide the Indian economy the necessary push to grow to the expected levels. So that has been given here, right? So now let's look at the now let's look at the questions and the answers that you should frame and you could frame in the actual exam. So for first question, discuss the current state of Indian economy. What you could write, right? So look at this answer, guys. This is the type of elaboration that you need, right? The current situation of the Indian economy is a little bit shaky because of the recent slowdown in the economy, which resulted in the reduction of the momentum of growth, but revival is on board, and for making India third largest economy in the world, major reforms are needed. However, some unprecedented and major schemes have been implemented and many others are still under process. Although Indian economy is in recovery mode, yet some rating agencies have started some negative predictions about the Indian economy. They stated that as Indian economy is not up to the mark as had been promised at the beginning of this decade, and we assumed that as like this decade, next decade will also face a slow pace of growth in India. But India is on track of revival with many stimulus measures where many stimulus measures have been taken not only by the government of India but also by the RBI. So this is the state of Indian economy that was given in the passage, and that has been elaborated very organically, right? Now for the second question, describe how the government plans to revive the economy. Now listen to this, guys. The government is planning continuously the unprecedented steps to reform the economy, to do the reforms in the economy. For instance, demonetization and GST tax have been implemented, which are likely to play a major role in the revival of the economy. Especially demonetization has come as a force of multiplier for digitization in the economy. Similarly, the Indian bankruptcy court and corporate tax cut are providing proper support to businesses in India, which ultimately will boost the FDI inflow and augment the private investment in the economy. Additionally, the government should also implement some schemes to boost the informal sector in which most of the Indian population is employed. This will increase per capita income. Along with these, the RBI has also provided better money flow in the economy by reducing lending rates. Since 2019, the RBI has cut 135 basis points in lending rate, which is repairing the demand side slowdown. Also, inflation targeting has been adopted by the RBI, which will boost growth in the next decade. So this is how you organically write your answers for these questions while elaborating them in your own words. Now for the third question, discuss the purpose of the author to write this article. Now how to answer such a question. Now let's look at the answer. The current state of Indian economy, which despite a promising future in the last decade, stands on the face of a sharp slowdown. A research report, Imagine 2030, states that Indian economy is just about 3 trillion now. However, this sharp slowdown does not indicate of what happens in the next 10 years. The government has taken adequate measures to tackle the situation. The cut in the corporate rate tax will ensure greater investments from foreign direct investment and private sector. The rollout of GST will enable formalization of Indian economy, which was a must for an economy with higher informal sector. It will help accelerate per capita income levels. Reforms like demonetization in India's bankruptcy law 2017 will help the digitalization, and faster growth rate will be ascertained in the future. Not to mention the support of the Reserve Bank of India's by rate cutting its key lending rate by 135 basis points, which will revive growth and subsequently will take India to 7 trillion mark by 2030 from the current 3 trillion mark, making it the world's third largest economy. Right? So guys, this is what you need to do there in your answers. This is what you need to execute in your paper. And if you've understood me, I think you will agree with me. Okay, sir, this is now we understood what is the point of asking reading comprehension in this paper. So they will be testing you on your comprehension skills as well as elaboration skills, right? Your articulation, and you have to combine both there. So see, even there was repetition in the third answer, but you never felt like he's saying the same thing. He did not copy the same sentence. He presented it in a new way, right? In a new way of presentation in the third answer. So that is what is required of you. Now guys, any doubts, any queries about reading comprehension, please feel free to ask. Question 3 is fit for question 2. Whatever you feel, that's your call. Tech and Games. Telegram channel name is EduTap. You can just search EduTap and you will find it, or you can get the link in the description of the video dear. Yes guys, what do you say? All good? And now guys, before we end, I told you I will be giving you 15 more topics. Now these topics, you can call them abstract topics. You know, in the previous session I gave you 15 topics on technical topics, on economic based topics, on topics that are based on current affairs, or topics which need a lot of facts and data, statistics, reports, schemes. Now these topics, you don't need to present a lot of facts and data into it, but you should also prepare for these topics. These are very very natural, or very very, what do you say, very plain topics that you may face in the exam. And there are certain management based topics as well which you can look into. Number 1, global terrorism, the fight against terrorism, right, which is obviously in news, in every news or newsroom there. Democracy versus dictatorship, again the same angle. Third, importance of vocational education. Now this is a management based topic, so you should prepare management based topics like importance of soft skills, importance of communication skills, importance of teamwork, importance of hard work in life. So these are management based topics. Importance of let's say formal and informal sort of communication. So these are topics that you may face for management topics. Another one, the concept of secularism, importance of work culture, right, importance of teamwork, leadership skills, communication skills, time management skills. Yes, that is what I was forgetting. So these are all management based topics. You should prepare these topics. Next, adversity brings out the best in man. You can also face topics like these, because do you remember the topics that were given in UPSC this year? Out of this world, and literally out of this world. Nobody could, many of the students could not even understand what the question was demanding, right? So you should prepare for these abstract topics as well. Adversity brings out the best in man. Now, how would you ask yourself, what would you write in such a topic, right? Next, need for electoral reforms in India. India at 75, achievements and failures. Can technology help Indian villages? Investment in defense sector. Now next, gender diversity with focus on gender diversity in leadership and management positions. Next, importance of stress management at workplace or in life. Next, multicultural work environment and leading by example, or leading by or becoming a role model. So guys, again, I have given you 30 topics in these sessions. At least start with them. And guys, the best strategy is to prepare for different verticals altogether, so that you can cover as many scenarios as possible. Right guys, so that was it for Pressy writing and reading comprehension. Now guys, do share with me how you felt about this session. If you want to give any constructive feedback, I would be more than happy to hear from you. And if you have any doubts or queries, please feel free to ask. If you want to inquire about our courses or anything else, if you have any doubt, you can call us on this number 8146207241, or you can also drop us an email at hello@edutap.co.in. Right, and the links for our courses and Telegram channel have been given in the description of the video. You can go and check them out, guys. How many words per answer, Shivam? At least 50 to 60 words per answer, right? The handout that exactly. So Tekken games. So such a topic, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, right? What an interesting topic to write about. So unless you have very organic, composition skills with you, you would not be able to finish that answer or essay within the stipulated time. How to get additional 10%? I don't know which course are you looking to, Yudhvir, but you can call us on the number that we have provided, or you can drop us an email. Obviously, during the office hours, they will not be picking the calls now. But yes, you can contact us tomorrow, or you can just drop us an email and we'll be contacting you back, right? Or you can just go through the links of the courses that have been provided in the description of the video. I think you can talk to our backend team and they'll tell you what discount is running right now, right? I'm not sure about that, right, Yudhvir? All right. I told you, Shivam, how many words per answer? 50 to 60 words per answer, Shivam. That is for you. If you have not heard it clearly, Shivam, this is for you. 50 to 60 words per answer. So if there are 4 questions, that means you have to write 50 to 60 words for every answer. Got it? All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining in, guys. I know you're using your precious time here. I know you have invested a lot in this, but we also want to support you in this journey, and we really hope that this journey turns out to be fruitful for you and successful as well, right? So, and I wish all of you that you come out with flying colors, right, with smiles on your faces from that exam room. And I wish that all of you give your best, and all of you actually deserve this, but you need to be working really, really hard right now. So the countdown has begun, guys, and if you need us for anything, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Right? So having said that, guys, I'll take your leave for today. How to practice essay, sir. Please watch my previous session with Karsh. You will get to know MS Word. Guys, many students were asking me, sir, where to practice the interface. Now, if you are an enrolled student of EduTap, we have provided you interface in those descriptive batches. There were 2 batches that we launched. One was the Descriptive English Evaluation batch, and one was Descriptive English Live batch. So the live batch is running right now. If you want to see the simulation, you can join us in that batch. Otherwise, what you also can do is you can use your word pad. You can shorten it to the size of a window, of a dialog box, not window. Shorten it to the size of a dialog box and start practicing in that. That would give you the feel. Or there is another website somebody told me about by the name of wordcounter.com. So you can also visit that, and somebody told me that it has also similar interface. So you can also try that for your own practicing. Right? So that was it for your queries, for your questions, guys. Thank you, Himanshi, and guys, thank you to everyone who have put in the faith, the trust, all of your trust that you've put in us. So we feel really obliged for that, and guys, we will try to live up to your expectations and to our promises. So guys, thank you so much once again for watching this session, for joining us, and let us help you out in any way possible. So once again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy learning to all of you guys.